Welcome back, YouTube. Figured I'd take advantage of having this thing all drooped out on the straps to get a little bit of film and show it, put in a little video. I was just getting ready to take this thing back off the jack stands and actually get back to work. But yeah, I got all the area a little cleaned up. I filmed a different video on the hubcaps on there. I've got, those are all fully installed now. I've been doing a couple things, haven't really been filming. It's just kind of some tedious stuff, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I kind of get in these little grooves where like I'm doing all these little tasks and I just don't want to deal with the camera. So that's what ended up happening. But I got quite a few things, done up. So that's one of them. I ended up taking the spindles or the hubs all the way back off. I had to press in the seals on the back sides of the hubs. So that's all done. Essentially, I've started the process. I've got some lists now for finishing some systems, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going through and finalizing everything on systems. So started with suspension, and I went through, bolt checked everything, tore everything back apart, and been doing that. Did the hubs, got that all installed. So wheel bearings are greased and caps are installed. Steering is all back on. Everything is tightened. Skid plate's all back on. Everything's painted now. There's still little bits of things here and there to do, but for the most part, steering is all finished. Oh yeah, that is one thing I did. I installed, let's see if I can find a viewpoint of them. I installed the steering lines, power steering lines, which you can see the pressure right there. I don't know if you can see the return, but steering is all hooked up. That's what you saw me, I think, in the beginning. I've got footage. I was cycling the steering wheel. Oh yeah, it will. The tires are just touching the ground barely, but steering wheel now fully works all the way in the truck. Lines are on. Linkage is all done. So as far as steering goes, so you see the linkage coming down through there. There's the box. There is a mess of wiring. Wiring is not done. But steering is one of the systems that is completely checked off the list now. Pitman arm, swingers, everything on the steering is completely done. Even, so I was steering the thing, cycling fluid through the cooler and the new box. So I was just pouring fluid in it and just cycling the piston up and down in the box a bunch of times to get all the air out of it. So that's what I was doing. So I'm ready to take it back down now from that and get back to working on it and doing the next thing. So that is what we're doing. The other thing I did, you'll notice maybe in some pictures, I still got to do the sheet metal work on this truck. So I actually, when I had the tire and I had the shock off, I was doing some cycling to figure out exactly where our bump and cycle and this tire was at. And so there was a little bit of trimming I had to do, and I still got to come in and clean it up. But now the tire cycles and steers in here at full bump. Now I'll come in and smooth all this up. I'll make this a little more radiused, and then I'll end up making some panel. I'll probably cut this a little bigger, and I'll make a new panel that goes in there with that angle and blocks that off for there. And then I have to do, let's see, you can see them, the floor cut throughs for the cage. I have to patch those up, and then the roof in the back, those need patched yet. So that's going to end up being the very last thing I do on the truck. At this point, I'm trying to make everything run and drive and get it to the point of firing up and actually driving it. Suspension is all on. That's another thing that's finalized. There's actually nitrogen and springs and everything is on the shock. So those are all good to go. I did get, reservoir mounts all made up. So that's in there. Let's see, stuff like that. Another thing I got done was some of the cooling system stuff. I've got the tank mounted, the overflow. I got lines made. I need to make I got a line ran right here, but I'm going to make a mount to, it's a little too floppy and flimsy for me, so I'm going to make a mount that comes in right here off this tube to hold that nice and straight. But coolant lines are in, except for I need to, I'm waiting on a piece of material. This line needs to go into here yet. I got to cut it and reroute it with a union, but no big deal. That is mounted. This used to be mounted like up here factory. So I've used the factory overflow tank and I've just remounted it in a new location up here. So so cooling system is one away. As soon as I hook this tube up, I can fill the thing up with coolant and get that going again. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in things. The thing I'm going to get started on now then is actually brakes and electrical. Those are the two systems that I am now working on to get finalized. So I have brake lines all the way down the beams and up to here, and then I've already got tabs on the frame for lines. I just now need to run the hard lines from the reservoirs, figure out what I'm going to do down these tubes, and then one of them is going to go right down here to the beam, and then there will be a T and one around there. So I need 2 hard lines to build there. That's what I'm going to start on, and then 1 hard line to go back to the rear brakes. So I guess I need to make 3 brake lines, and then the brake system is done. I can start filling that up with fluid and pumping all that stuff and get all the air out of that system. And then the last thing I'll be doing is the electrical system. I've got factory wiring. This is a factory component that there's a little bit of, I've been peeling some loom off to be able to reroute some stuff. Some wiring for the fan that's just laid in there. Here's some relays and stuff. I got to get all this mounted. This is for, oh yeah, and that's the other thing. I did get this shroud is all fully mounted now. I got upper mounts, and then there's mounts on the bottom side of it. Nice and snug in there. So I'm really happy with how that worked out. That is, I think, a pretty clean unit. Those are some Spall, what are they, 16-inch, 4,500 CFM fans, I do believe. Maybe they might be 4,000. I don't remember. I should look. And then the ECM and the fuse box. That's, when I say electrical, that's kind of like the real big part of the electrical that I got to figure out. I'm designing up right now in CAD a mount for that, to get that, make a mount for that. And then this is going to end up getting a panel, and I got to make a cover to encase all of the electrical stuff and keep that from getting debris and water and all sorts of stuff on that. So that is my long-winded list of everything I got to do and kind of exactly where we're at on this I-beam Chevy project. So maybe I figured I'd do a little bit different on this one, of doing like the bigger talking part in more towards the beginning to kind of give you a better look at what I'm actually doing while I'm doing it. So anyways, and like I said at the beginning part of this, I just wanted to show it as it was drooped out because it looks pretty sick. So we'll get a couple shots checking it out, and then it's time to get back to actual work. Just fired it up, first time. Well, it took a few times and then it got running. I still need to, there's still some loose end stuff like wiring and the dash here. This front part, I gotta figure out something. But for the most part, I've been working on the dash and the wiring. I still got glove box and more stuff like that to go in the side panel. But I got the thing up to the point of being able to fire it up, so I figured I'd test out the power steering lines, make sure those are holding, which they are, no leaks. So I'm gonna fire it back down, keep on working. I gotta finish bleeding brakes. The brakes are a little spongy right now, but this thing should be drivable Friday or Saturday. Oh shit, it's getting fumy in here. Just like that, sitting outside on its own weight. Kind of between the last GoPro stuff I was doing working on it and now, a lot has happened. Was doing some filming, but then the wife came outside and I had her help me bleed the brakes. That was one of the last things, and then a couple hooking up some wires. And this thing has actually been ready to fire up and test out the brakes and move and test out steering and check for like power steering line leaks, things of that nature. And before you know it, I fired it up and yeah, got it outside. So I didn't have it running too long because I still do need to get coolant in it. I don't have the fans wired up yet. So, and then this fuse box, that's kind of the last bit of stuff for electrical. As far as dash and fab, working on, I've got to trim up the factory dash up here, and then I'm going to end up making an aluminum panel that goes up here. So that way it's a set in piece that with this notch in it. So don't mind that right now. That's just kind of in there. That's what we've been working on. I got the window down and we've got some of the dash in. I don't have the glove box yet back in because I still am working on that side a little bit on mount. But the factory dash is in. We got a brake pedal. There's some wiring in there yet we got to clean up. We don't need that stuff. There's some patch panel work. All of the panel work is still left on it as far as closing up the panels and the holes in the cab for tubes. So we have that to do yet, but as far as running and driving, really it's some coolant and some wiring tightening up and mounting the dash. So this is just some plastic. It's not flopping all over the place and breaking. Once we do that, which then this is the last thing before the windshield can get put back in. So this is actually kind of where my attention has been. You know, everything's kind of happening all at the same time. But right now, the electricals, with this thing being able to fire up and move, really the next thing is getting that dash finalized so I can get a windshield put in this thing. And then while the windshield's getting put in, I can go ahead and finish up this little bit of electrical, and we will be good to go. Put coolant in it and all that stuff I just said. So for now, I will get a few little shots of the thing sitting outside. The battery, this thing's been sitting a long time, so got to have it on a charger. I pulled it out and then it's been cleaning up the shop. It's been a long time since I've had this bay open in my shop and was able to sweep it out, so that's pretty awesome. But not as awesome as seeing this thing sitting on its own weight and actually driving it. You know, probably it's just drove 25 feet, its first 25 feet, and right at sunset. I'm gonna go ahead and fire this thing back up. Maybe I'll turn my GoPro back on while I'm firing this up and pulling it in the garage. And then, yeah, maybe I'll give you a little closer look at what I've been doing. I like this angle right here. This is my favorite angle of the thing. It's pretty sick. Have a perfect sunset. This thing out of the garage for the first time. It's been, if you've been following my channel, you know I've been working on this truck for quite a while. So we're closing in on 2 years now on this thing. So very close to 2 years, and it is very awesome to see this thing outside. So let's get it fired up and pull back in the garage.